Greetings, friends. Welcome to CTUCC ConferenceCast for August 8th, 2013, the regular podcast of the Connecticut Conference of the United Church of Christ. Whoever you are, and wherever you may be on life's journey at this very moment, you are welcome here. ConferenceCast returns today after a one-week break while your host was on vacation. I'm now back from that and from Silver Lake as well, and it's good to be behind the microphone again in our studio at United Church Center in Hartford. We begin this week's ConferenceCast with this meditation from the Reverend Davida McCallister, Associate Conference Minister for Youth and Young Adult Ministries. Day is also the staff advisor for the conference's Sacred Conversations on Race ministry team. And so staff training this summer has begun with these words from the first chapter of Genesis. So God created humanity in God's own image. In the image of God, He created humanity.
This text from Genesis seems pretty basic, and at first glance it even appears a bit redundant. The Creator of the universe creates a race of beings that are created in the image of the Creator. We began each session of the staff training on the Sacred Conversations on Race ministry with this short and powerful text. God created humanity and did so in God's own image. The first time we read the text, there was a look of confusion on the faces of most of the participants. Surely a conversation on race should begin with some word on justice, or the commandment to love God and to love our neighbor, a fan favorite at Silver Lake. Or perhaps an Old Testament lesson on quarreling siblings who are called to care for one another as an analogy of humankind. Instead, each of the 3 sessions began with lighting a small candle in the center of the table, reading these few words, and a brief prayer. The first session was an overview of the basic curriculum for the Sacred Conversations on Race ministry, the TARASC spectrum. We reviewed each of the terms in the spectrum: tolerance, acceptance, respect, affirmation, solidarity, and critique. The remainder of the first session and the final 2 sessions were discussions based on video representation of each of the terms in the TARASC spectrum. Each term represented a positional shift from monocultural communities and settings to multicultural communities and settings. The terms were grouped in pairs with tolerance and acceptance as the first phase, with an emphasis on personal gain and power. We call this phase the me phase. The second phase was respect and affirmation, with an emphasis on acknowledging others who have been historically marginalized based on race. We call this the you phase. Then finally, the third stage was solidarity and critique, with an emphasis on raising our voices and challenging behaviors, beliefs, patterns, and policies. We call this the us phase. The grounding for each of these conversations was this basic yet powerful idea that God created humanity in God's image. In the image of God, humanity was created. Dismantling racism is not about justice alone. It is a fundamental acknowledgement that all of us are created in the image of God, and therefore worthy and deserving of basic human decency. This was not a conversation about privilege, but about human worth. All humans deserve to be acknowledged for their uniqueness, their value, their beliefs, and their presence among others as equals. There will be additional trainings, and we will discuss the criminal justice system, the Voting Rights Act, the necessity of adequate education for all of our children, the communal need for health care, economic justice, environmental racism, and even the intersection of race and religion. But each of those conversations will start with the same basic and powerful thought. God created humanity in God's image. In the image of God, humanity was created. Here is a prayer for this week. Holy One, allow me to see your face when I look in the mirror and outside of my window. Allow me to hear your voice when I speak and when I listen. Allow me to feel your loving embrace in the gentle breeze and in the arms of my neighbor. Ashe and Amen.
Please hold in prayer the family and friends of the Reverend Mark Wessels, Associate Conference Minister in the Missouri Mid-South Conference and Conference Minister-elect of the South Dakota Conference. He died on July 26th before he could begin his ministry there. Please pray for the family and friends of James Patterson, spouse of the Reverend Kathleen Crockford, who currently serves in Pawcatuck, Connecticut. James, who was the first chef for the freedom schooner Amistad, died on July 3rd. And please pray as well for the family and friends of the Reverend Greg Hamby, pastor of the First Baptist Church in Essex, who died on July 30th after suffering an accident while vacationing. In the news this week, Global Ministries missionary Tim Rose visited United Church Center in Hartford yesterday to tell a group of lay and clergy people about his work with prison ministry in Guadeloupe, a small island and French département in the Caribbean Sea east of Puerto Rico. His work with the Reformed Church of France there is an example of the UCC and Disciples of Christ's joint commitment to bring resources to places of critical presence.
It's based sort of on Jesus' command that, when I was thirsty, you gave me water. When I was hungry, you gave me food. When I was in prison, you visited me. It says to best use our resources, there needs to be a critical presence. There needs to be a critical need, doing something that cannot be done.
The prison ministry provides pastoral care and counseling to inmates and also includes significant support for those approaching release. The program works with families and communities, and some of the inmates will live in a transitional house in the months following their return to society. Rose and his colleagues have also worked with the Protestant Federation of Haiti, which asked them to share their experience in setting up a prison ministry of their own. Tim Rose will be in Connecticut through August 19th and is available to visit with local churches and describe his work of critical presence on behalf of the United Church of Christ. For the 5th year, the Asylum Hill section of Hartwood will end the summer with a festival called the Neighborhood Parade Project. This year, masks, puppets, costumes, and floats will come together around the theme of outer space adventure before they're paraded to Sigourney Square Park. The annual event brings together members of the Asylum Hill Congregational Church UCC with their neighbors for creative fun. Project founder Steve Mitchell, Minister of Music and the Arts at the Asylum Hill Church, says the event has grown each year. Last summer, there were over 115 participants in the parade, and we look forward to seeing many new and familiar faces this year. We like to say that summer experiences at Silver Lake Conference Center, the Connecticut Conference's outdoor ministry program in Sharon, change lives. While I was serving as chaplain there 2 weeks ago, I was able to ask the young people themselves how God was making them new, and how God was making things new around them. Their willingness to tell me and my camera and microphone made it possible to produce 3 video reflections to start their days on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, and they're now available on our website, our YouTube channel, and the CTUCC Youth YouTube channel. Here's a quick sample.
I have made a lot of new friends.
Yeah, just new people. I met a lot of people. New friends. Yeah. It's really hard to get out of the crowd you have at home, and when you come here, you get to try new things.
God's taught me to love, and so I love the planet, and I want to save it by recycling it and composting, just like we do here at Silver Lake. God has given me my love so that I can love people.
I'm just relating to my haying season on my farm, that when my brother is struggling with one hay bale, together we can make it happen.
Decided to follow Jesus. I have decided to follow Jesus. I have decided to follow Jesus. No turning back, no turning back.
My thanks is due to all the young people who spoke to me and shared their thoughts and wisdom. Silver Lake Summer Conference is run through August 17th, with congregation camp opportunities the week of August 18th. Visit silverlakect.org for more information. And you can find the videos in full at youtube.com/CTUCCYouth or at youtube.com/CTUCC. And you can find them in our story along with all the current headlines at ctucc.org/news. There's a webinar opportunity to learn about the Give Squared Youth Service Program on August 14th. Join the Connecticut Conference Choir as it rehearses on August 31st in Essex. Learn about implementing a season of generosity, which is a new approach to stewardship, presented by Patsy Bjorling in North Haven on September 7th. And then make sure to join us in celebrating the ministry of Mike Penstra, our retiring South Central Regional Minister, in North Haven again on September 19th. CT Women of the UCC hold their fall retreat at Silver Lake September 20th and 21st. The Reverend Dr. Kirk Byron Jones will help authorized ministers, Christian educators, and church musicians get free refills, some real time off, during General Association running September 22nd through 24th at Silver Lake. And on September 28th, we will install the Reverend Kent J. Salati as conference minister at First Church of Christ UCC in Glastonbury. Materials for this fall's annual meeting, to be held October 18th and 19th in Hartford, and featuring the Reverend Kent Salati and the Reverend Mike Piazza, are online at ctucc.org/annual meeting. And registration is now open for the 2013 and 14 edition of Confirmation Retreats. These retreats bring together young people considering a commitment to their local churches at Silver Lake Conference Center. To learn more, select dates, and register, make sure to visit us at ctucc.org/confretreats. CONFRETREATS. You can always learn more about what's coming up in the Connecticut Conference by visiting us at ctucc.org/events. And that brings this conference cast to a close. Thanks to Day McCallister for her reflection and to GarageBand for our music. Primary funding for Conference Cast comes from your congregation's gifts to our church's wider mission, basic support, changing lives to the United Church of Christ. This is Eric Anderson, the Minister of Communications and Technology for the Connecticut Conference of the United Church of Christ, praying that your days this week may be filled with the presence, the guidance, and the grace of God.